Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Cancer, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of August. I hope you're well and I hope you had a good birthday last month. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. There's quite a lot going on astrologically, certainly towards the end of July, and I am recording this in July. So presumably, if you're watching this in August, all of that has already happened. Might be worth looking up though if you're interested. Let's get straight on with this, Cancer, and see what's going on with you. Could I have 3 cards for Cancer, please? Well, thank you. We have the 4 of Wands in your recent past. Very nice. Current energy of Cancer, please. We have the Death card. Interesting. And what's coming towards Cancer, please? Thank you. We have the Ace of Cups. What a beautiful card that is. At the bottom of the deck we've got the 9 of Swords, which seems somewhat at odds with the rest of the cards on the table. But it is followed by the 9 of Wands and the Sun. So it seems like there's a sense of emergence here. But quite what you're emerging from and where that 9 of Swords fits into the other main energies that seem to be working on you this month or have been working on you last month is unclear. But we're going to put a pin in that, and we're going to go with the Commonplace Tarot to clarify. Actually, let's just give this a little bit of a smudgy thing going on. That'll do. Right. Have some clarifiers for 4 of Wands, please. What does this mean for Cancer? We have the Ace of Cups, and we have the Emperor and the King of Cups, which is interesting energy. Not least because they sort of seem to come out upside down in the reverse. And put them the right way up for now and see what gives. Tell me about the Death card, please. Oh, shit. And there's cards flying out everywhere here. Right, we've got the 6 of Cups in reverse. Definitely landed in reverse. What do we have here? We have the Magician and we have the Page of Cups. It's definite movement for you here, Cancer, this month. Tell me about this Ace of Cups here, please. Thank you. Right, we've got the Justice card. The Ace of Cups. Fuck me. We've got the 2 of Swords in reverse. And we've got the Ace of Wands. Cancer, I wonder if you know if you're coming or going this month. It seems that there's an awful lot going on for you here. We also have the 9 of Cups, which makes 3 9s appearing in the same reading, which means that it seems like there's a lot of work that you have done on yourself. And perhaps this is the month where that's starting to come to a sense of culmination. Where the outer world will possibly begin to start reflecting the inner world. I mean, that 9 of Swords is the only card that's really that negative on the table. And I mean, there is no card that's all negative or all positive. But it could well be speaking to how you have managed to put things into perspective, because there's a breakthrough here, there's a change, there's a shift. And I feel like you may well be embodying that already. So I'm quite certain, looking at the cards, that you're embodying that already. But what we have towards the end, I mean, what's coming towards you in August, feels like it's not just as a natural corollary of that perspective shift, although it is absolutely, a huge part of what's going on. But there's something rather fated and rather karmic about the way that you are turning things around in August. And there's much more focus on your action there than everywhere else, honestly. I often speak about the major arcana as being those really big energies that kind of work, that they throw themselves at you, And the minor arcana then are the ways in which you respond to it. Now, if your default often would be a 9 of Swords sort of situation, if you might be prone to overthinking or a kind of low-level anxiety, particularly around relationships, which is a reflection of the way that you see yourself. I see that pattern breaking. Now, you've done this a lot, actually, Cancer. You know, it's because... Start again, Carrie, right? You've done a lot of this kind of work over the last 2 years, and each time there's been a cycle that's breaking and you're kind of pushing out of your comfort zone. So what I'm seeing here isn't necessarily just a result of what's been going on in the last few weeks or even the last month or so. It is the cumulative effect of all of these works kind of coming together to shift and change who you are. To present a version of Cancer out into the world that is new, for sure, it's definitely new, but it's almost like it's more than the sum of its parts. I think that's probably the best way to put it. Now, I've pulled out another deck because, like I said, it's unclear as to whether you know if you're coming or going this month, because everything seems to be at extremes for you. There's not really much of a middle ground here. Now, I don't think it's necessarily, you know, extreme as in extremely good and extremely bad, but more the circumstances that you're dealing with are being the extremes. The centre point is you. That's what you've got to realise about this. Like, it doesn't matter how far to the extremes anything gets pushed. If you are solid and stable, if you are if you are really taking yourself seriously in August, and I do think that that is what is going on here, then shit needs to change and is going to change. There's a determination about that determination coming through from the cards very strongly. Right, so we start off with this Four of Wands. And this might well actually be referring to your birthday or around your birthday. You know, I do think that when we hit those milestone birthdays, whether it's, you know, 30, 40, 50, which is my next big milestone one, that it kind of sharpens the mind a little bit, right? You're leaving one decade behind and you're going into a new one. And similarly, you know, when you hit 18 or you hit 21, you know, so it's like, I'm an adult, I need to do things, you know, and as you get older, it becomes, cool, I might be dead soon, I need to do some stuff, you know. But whether or not you've hit a milestone birthday, I do feel like that has been the thing. It's been the point where something's changed. Now, the thing that's changed might be slightly different for all of you, but it's the timing of the thing. You know, some of you would have had your birthdays in late June. But Cancer is your season, right? Whether it's June or it's July. And it might not be your birthday exactly. It might be the whole thing, right? So for example, as a Leo, Cancer is like, you know, the last month of my solar year before I, you know, hit Leo season and have a birthday and whatnot. And I've noticed that there's a consistent energy that occurs for me in Cancer season, which is that of kind of tying up loose ends a little bit. And it always is emotional loose ends. It's nothing to do with stuff and things that are going on outside of me. It tends to be a month where I am very reflective and I kind of, you know, kind of feel my way through all of the stuff that is messy and try and tidy it up a little bit. And I don't do it on purpose, it's just what I've noticed over the years. Now, if you were strictly following that example, then it would be the month before, it would be Gemini season, where that would be occurring for you. But I don't get the sense that it is necessarily the same. I think that there might have been some sort of event that has gone on around about your birthday season, whether or not it's happened on your birthday. And rather than being reflective and, you know, kind of contemplating your navel in the way that I tend to do during Cancer season, it's almost like half a dozen things have all fallen into place. And now with these things falling into place, it's like a fog's cleared. And it's like, well, I can't continue doing this, or I can't continue not doing this. I need to start to effect some sort of change. There's a big push that's happened to make you do that. The cards that clarify it are quite interesting because we've got that Ace of Cups, and I like that very much because it does speak to the renewal of emotional engagement, I think. And so, you know, I think it speaks to a better, a more improved relationship that you have with yourself, and it can indicate new love, and it can, you know, potentially, if you might have had someone come in and deal with the obvious stuff, right? We've got King of Cups and the Emperor there. That's Scorpio and Aries, respectively. And it could well be that you've had somebody come into your life. It does not matter if they're male or female. This is speaking to archetypal energy, right? And that's possible. And it might have felt like it was a little bit of a birthday gift. But I don't like to just peg my readings on those kind of occurrences, because it's far more important to me that you understand what is going on inside you, rather than me sitting here and going, you know, meet someone tall, dark and handsome, you know, and they're going to be an Aries, and it's like, not as important as what is going on inside you. So I choose to see the Ace of Cups, generally speaking, as the potential that we have to fill our cup and then drink from our cup, you know, giving that that watery energy, that love and emotion to ourselves. But this King of Cups and Emperor, who I have to say, I feel like they came out in the reverse, but I felt compelled to put them the right way. I'm just going to be completely honest about the way that the cards fell there. Could well speak to this energy of getting both in touch with and on top of your feelings and your emotions about a particular matter specifically, or the broad strokes of your life, and then resolving to do something about it. If there's something that you've seen that you're not happy with, it's like, I'm going to change it. I'm not going to sit around doing this anymore. And it feels like, to me, you've had some sort of restorative kind of energy coming into you in some way as you've improved your relationship with yourself, and then you've taken that cup and you've gone, well, I'm going to hold on to this, right? I am now in charge of my emotions. Remember that your card is the Queen of Cups, and she is very giving, which is about receiving as well, but she's the nurturing and caring to other people energy, whereas this is something much more active, but weirdly self-directed. And this Emperor just does feel like enthusiasm to get things done, to start making a plan, perhaps. Tell me about the Emperor, thank you. We've got the Chariot card, which is you all day long, Cancer. That's a Cancer card. And we've got the Five of Swords, which is interesting because it does seem to suggest that you've looked at yourself really clearly, and you've seen where your thinking has been a little bit off. You've perhaps seen where relationships haven't really been conducted that well, maybe it's in the past, or maybe right in front of you right now, you know, maybe even at your birthday party or something like that, right? And there's a resolve, there is a resolution that will not continue, that will not stand, because the card that you've got at the bottom of the deck is, well, you've got two. You've got the Six of Swords and you've got the Ace of Swords. Now, I've just noticed the interesting thing is that you also have the Four of Wands underneath those two here, and I'm struck by the kind of the cyclical nature of what is going on here with the way that the cards are appearing, at least with a couple of them. Four of Wands, a celebration or home, seems to have been very, very important in this shift in your thinking. And now that it's occurred, it's almost like I said, it's almost like the fog has lifted, and now there's a direction appearing in front of you. And you're moving away from something, whether it's an idea, a situation, a group of people, a mindset. and you're headed towards something else, which feels like a personal truth. And it's almost like the more things you do, the more you think about it, the more you look at things with this clarity of vision now, the closer you feel like you're getting to your personal truth. And that, you can't really put a price on that. It's a really good thing. But remember how I was talking about that resolve and that drive? Well, I mean, it's right here. It's right here. Chariot card has many, many meanings. You know, not least the fact that it's the card of Cancer, but it does talk about success. It talks about victory. It talks about, you know, making a plan and executing it. And the success for me seems here to revolve around the way that you are changing your thinking about what it is that you can and can't do. I mean, what's that old thing, you know, whether you think you can do it or whether you think you can't, you're right in both instances. And I think that that's probably quite important. It might be that with that Nine of Swords, you realise that you have been focusing on the things that are negative for a long time. And that, you know, negativity begets more negativity. It's a kind of it's a spiral that you can't really get out of, where you shift your attention and start looking for the things that are worthy of being celebrated. Bring you back to the Four of Wands. Those things for which we are grateful. Then negativity things, and the negativity and the things that are negative seem a little less important in the grand scheme of things. And the more you look for things to be grateful for, the more you will find them, you know. Was it Roald Dahl said those? Is it Roald Dahl? I think it was Roald Dahl. Those who don't look for magic will never find it, or something like that, something along those lines. And you seem to me to be resolving not only to look for magic, but also to bring it directly into yourself, you know. So we're talking about a higher level of experiencing life. It's not about stuff, it's not about things, it's not even about the problems and the challenges that are in front of you. It seems to me like you've kind of pulled right back from yourself and you've looked at the broad strokes of your life and gone, well, I can do something about this, I can change this, I can steer this in a different direction. And that is a huge mindset shift, because you are no longer being reactive, you are being proactive, which means that you have discovered, and we'll see it, you know, indicated down here in the cards in a second, that you have discovered the source of your own personal power and you are willing to use it in a way that you did not think was open to you. Now, this is huge. This is life-changing stuff right here. It doesn't mean that things aren't going to be hard at points in the future. We know this. But it does mean that the way you're seeing those hard things is changing and shifting. These are opportunities for growth. These are ways in which I can grow. But more than that, like, there's a connectedness here. Almost like your connection to source, your connection to the idea that there is a plan for you, and it's not to be miserable, it's not to sort everybody else, it's not to be an enabler or any of the other things. So it's to live a full and vivid and fulfilled life all of your own. Seem to be front and center for you now. And any sense of victimhood or punishment seems to be evaporating in front of you, which I love. I love that for you. Because in your current energy, you have death. You are transforming. You are changing into something very, very different. Now, I love the fact that the Six of Cups is underneath here, because it's shown up in the reverse for you. This way around, it talks about the past. This way around for me, when it appears this way, it is a refusal to go back to a past way of doing things, a past way of thinking about things. It's a refusal to go and sit in the past, which I'm afraid, like, some of us do a lot. You know, we're so traumatized by our pasts that we tend to we tend to repeat that pattern in our future. So desperate are we to make sure that we don't do it. We actually do it subconsciously without even realizing. And it's astonishing how close you can be to that and not notice it. But when you do see it, it's an essential part of reclaiming your power that you choose not to do that any longer, right? It's like, what's in front of me, I'm going to deal with it as I am right now, as a Cancer of XYZ years old, rather than a sad Cancer who is 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or even a little bit older, The place where those, in our formative years where the way of dealing with the world has been, set within us. Right? These are the rules of social engagement. These are the rules of living in a civilized society, and this is what you have to hold on to. I think you've done a lot of shadow work over the last year, and I think the things that have come up have probably made you pretty uncomfortable. If you're anything like me, what made you more uncomfortable still was realizing how other people that you cared about should have noticed that you didn't have any boundaries in the right place, and they should have observed them and they didn't. That was really hard for me when I made that realization. Ultimately, it was my fault because my boundaries weren't up, but it kind of stung a little bit, and that took a little bit of getting over. But where you are now, I don't think that you have as many people like that in your life. It's my chicken. What she's doing, she just ran off. And maybe it is that you've spent the last year or so kind of cleaning out your social circle, erecting boundaries, enforcing boundaries. And making all of those little micro adjustments that it was possible for you to make at that point. Sometimes the way that we change our life isn't by doing something huge and dramatic, moving or, shaving our heads or, whatever it is that we choose to do to show that we have changed in some way or another. Changing your hair colour, that's a big one for women. And what the equivalent is for men. Sometimes the biggest changes are just putting two small things together and going, well, fuck. And the internal ramifications of that are that you cannot be the same as you were before. This death card here speaks to endings. No, absolutely, death is the end, but is it the end? This is the point. Death is just the end of one thing and the beginning of another. So it's a transitional point, it's a transformation from one thing into another. And I think you are very much in that energy at the moment. I don't think that it is fully completed, because I don't think the changes that you are looking to make are fully done yet. But this is a really, really important one, as are these. We've got the Magician and we've got the Page of Cups. Now the Magician is Virgo or Gemini energy. I personally tend to see it as Gemini energy, for various reasons that I won't go into now. But there's a comfort here that I always feel about the Magician. As in, he is comfortable with his powers. The Magician is indicative of a toolbox that you didn't even realise that you had. It could be that you spent most of your life in victim mode and been like, why the fuck is this happening to me? And that shift where you can go, oh, all of these things have happened to me and I've learned loads of stuff about it and I'm not making the same mistakes that I was before. Well, and that, get very good at spotting how other people make this same mistake, and some of you are driven to go and help people with that. That caring and nurturing side of you, the very soft side of Cancer, because let's not forget that there are two sides to Cancer, can be more useful where it is guiding from a loving place rather than guiding from a place of need, right? Where you are trying to manage other people's expectations, not expectations, other people's perceptions of you, where you default into people pleasing mode or something like that. Those aren't very useful to you. But where you can, from a loving place, go, kind of see what's going on here. I'm going to give you the guidance and the support and be compassionate in the way that you actually need, rather than looking to fill me up in some way or another. Right, we're well past that point now, Cancer. That's not something that you do. Like I said, this sense of comfortableness, it's not comfort, it's comfortableness with your own power, with this idea that you can actually manifest your own whatever vision it is that you have for the future, because you've already done it. When you look back realistically at your life and you say, well, okay, well, I've been in this kind of energy, I've been resonating at this kind of frequency, and my God, did I not pull exactly the perfect partners for that energy to myself? When you get to a point where you're taking personal responsibility for things, and I do think that this is a really strong message with you this month, because we have all three of these nines here. 9 of Cups, 9 of Swords, 9 of Wands. 9 of Wands particularly. We have to agree that we've played our part somewhere. We've allowed people to make us feel one way or another. We ignored red flags. We did X, Y, and Z. Once we really get down and understand why that has happened, we release ourselves. And so if you were capable of manifesting for yourself the kind of life that comes as a result of having a very particular mindset, it stands to reason that you shift that mindset and you can bring an entirely different kind of life towards you. And this is what you're stepping into. It's an incredibly powerful energy because it's fully conscious. What's that Sun card? It's conscious work. It's fully conscious. There's no there's no obvious leaking of the subconscious here that is trying to stop you from doing something, right? Your subconscious is not going, oh God, no, she's going out of a comfort zone, he's going out of his comfort zone, quick, hammer them back in, right? Keep them in a place of terror. It's not happening for you in the same way that it has. That's how you know that you've broken this cycle. This is how you know that you've actually started doing the heavy lifting yourself rather than relying on your subconscious to do it. It's so strong. And this Page of Cups, there's just new energy washing all over you at the moment. But where the Ace of Cups is potential, and it is simply that, right? It's the newness, it's the potential. It has to be taken and it has to have something done to it. This Page of Cups speaks to what you are actually doing. The Page of Cups is speaking to the fact that you are allowing your emotions to take you in a different direction than the one that you have been stuck in a loop over and over again. And that might be manifesting itself in all sorts of ways. It could be that you have just entered into some sort of relationship in the last wee while. It could be that you have improved relationship with father figures. The Emperor is the archetypal father. Kings are all fathers, generally given to be a thing. Perhaps you've been working on that. Perhaps there have been men in your life that you have improved relationships with, and for some of that might actually just involve walking away from them. Doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be all roses and butterflies and unicorns and all that kind of thing. But again, I'm kind of back to this idea of this kind of personal fog that you've had for a while. where you didn't really understand what you brought to the table and everybody else was a catch. Do you know what I mean? And it's almost like, wow, you're showing any interest in me. I will be worthy of this, and I will work overtime in all senses to make sure that I am worthy of this attention for you. And maybe I'll throw in a little bit of overthinking and panicking and stuff like that. There's something much more relaxed, even about the way that you are coping with this transition. Because, I mean, sometimes transitions can be really, really difficult. You're like, how the fuck do I make this work, right? I see the world in a different way, but do I have the fucking tools to do this? Well, the answer is yes, because you put the magician on the table. But, I mean, yeah, even that sometimes can make the anxiety rise. But you only get better at things by practicing them and by doing them. And this Page of Cups here is an expression of willingness. Not just an expression of willingness, but a relaxed way of going about it. You don't feel to me like you have anything to prove. You can't say. Nothing to prove to yourself, and really nothing to prove to anybody else either. And I think people kind of bandy that sort of language around frequently. I've got nothing to prove, I am this, that and the other. Generally the people who kind of, I've got nothing to prove, are the ones who feel like they are constantly trying to prove themselves and they're constantly trying to catch up with themselves. Whereas the ones who really do feel like they don't have anything to prove, they don't need to articulate that to other people that often. They just do it. They don't really pay that much attention to what anybody else thinks. You know? About this Page of Cups, I've got the Hierophant. We've got the Wheel of Fortune. And there you are. It's the Queen of Cups at the bottom of the deck. Now, it's possible that there has been somebody significant who has been teaching you this. Because the Wheel of Fortune is my card of a teaching moment, right? It's also my card of fortunes improving, and you're getting into this kind of sense of alignment with not only who you are and who you want to be, you know, and walking that line towards who you want to be. There's self-improvement, whatever, always being a better person tomorrow than you were today. But it's also talking about this kind of universal approval that comes off the back of it. Where you're like, oh, they learned. That's good. Send them some more good stuff. And you know what I was talking about before, about like finding more things to be grateful for. But the Hierophant quite often, well, it's many things. It can indicate a person. It could indicate a number of people, perhaps a community that you've become part of. You know, who you are actively learning from, whether or not this is in an established educational institution of any sort. But there's an openness and a willingness, like everything about this reading is screaming openness for you, Cancer. And you don't feel to me like you need the armour quite so much. I mean, you're always going to have it because you're the crab, right? So you're armoured up. But you don't feel to me like you're leading with that anymore. It's like it's been redistributed to where it actually needs to be. So the boundaries are there and the armour will be somewhere else, you know. You're not leading with the expectation of rejection anymore, because external rejection means a little less. It's a little less world-ending than it used to be, because you have accepted yourself. And I mean, rather than just accepted yourself, which actually seems a little bit lame compared to the power of this card here, you have embraced yourself. Like, you're allowing this power to move through you now, and it's affecting everything. There's literally nothing that it doesn't touch. And it feels to me that August seems full of karmic rewards for you. You know, we've got the Ace of Cups twice and we have got the Ace of Wands, and that together can actually indicate a new relationship. And if you are in a new relationship, this augurs very, very well, because you're going about it in a very different way. But not all of you will be doing that. You know, some of you might be in an established relationship and you've actually found that you've got over quite a big hump with your relationship. And now it feels kind of new because you're experiencing it differently. But for others of you, it's nothing to do with your person or your significant other in anything other than a tangential way, because this is about you. There's so much potential here for you. You can take your life in any direction that you want. And the question is, what direction do you want to go in? And I feel like there is a path that you're being pulled to take. And I don't think that you can really explain why you're kind of heading this way if somebody asked you, but you must remember that you are incredibly sensitive, you are incredibly intuitive, like you're pretty much just fucking psychic as Cancer anyway. Like, you feel everything, that empathy is off the charts. But what has been difficult for you was working out what it was that you were picking up of other people as opposed to what was about you. Now, everything here in the reading is talking about it being very much you. So perhaps you've got those boundaries up a little better than before, and now you can isolate what is you, Cancer, as opposed to what it is that you're picking up off everybody else. You know, but when I see this card in the reverse, make this way around, talks to me about willful refusal, right? Willful denial of facts, like willful everything. It's a willful refusal to actually engage with the moon, which is your other card, and this water here. It's like, no, I'm going to blindfold myself and I'm going to pretend that I've got a choice to make here, which is purely intellectual. And I think when people get into that state of stubborn resistance, it's because the decision is already made. They just don't like it. When it appears in the reverse like this, I feel like there is both an acknowledgement that there are decisions to be made, but there's also contemplation of the moon, the intuition, and the emotions, right? Knowing that there is something important, that these two bits of you, which make up a huge part of you, Cancer, because of who you are, that they are guiding you now. And it might not necessarily feel terribly logical. It's the thing. And I think if you do get any of those kind of hits in August, you do need to listen to them. And even if it seems mad to anybody else, like, you need to pursue it. And the stronger the feeling, the more strongly you need to pursue it, because this Justice card here, in addition to talking about, you know, balance and correction and things just being right as they are, so we're talking about universal balance and natural law, it also does speak to karma, you know, and karmic rewards. How you go about getting your karmic rewards in a way that is actually properly fulfilling for you. There's so much potential that is open to you to access here, and it feels like if you do allow your intuition to guide you on that, if you allow your emotions to guide you on that, you're actually at a point now where you can make good judgments off the back of that, where you used to second guess it before, you used to talk yourself out of these little intuitive nudges that you got, because the overthinking was too strong. I don't feel like that applies so much anymore. I don't think that you ever truly eradicate it, but recognizing for what it is makes a big difference. Yeah, I mean, first card out is the Two of Wands there. We've got the Four of Pentacles in reverse. And last card, I think that was the Three of Wands. Let's have a look. Here's indeed the Three of Wands. And there's the sun at the bottom of the deck. Now, the sun, I think, well, so the moon, which is a card of Cancer, I see it as being the subconscious or the non-conscious, right? It's the bit of our mind that we don't really see working. We can be actually completely oblivious to it at times. But if that's true, then I tend to see the sun, and this is the second time that the sun is appearing for you here. I see that as consciousness, in amongst other ways of seeing it. Everything's conscious now. You know, it seems like you've done enough grubbing about in the inside of your mind, in the inside of your heart, working out why it is that you do things in a certain way, and working out why it is you attract these same particular people towards you. And I think you're done with that. And now it's about what you want, because I mean we've got a progression here. You know, we go from the energy of the Ace, and like I said, that is pure potential. You have to do something with it, to a decision that is being made. Again, Two of Swords, right? Your intuition this month is going to see you very, very well. You might even be having more heightened psychic abilities, more heightened sensitivities than usual. I hope, and I'm relatively confident that that is not going to turn out to be overwhelming for you, because I'm not just seeing it here. What I'm feeling is a lot of clarity, actually, as you are trusting that. And there's the knowledge that you're at a crossroads. So I do think that there are some bigger decisions that you are choosing to make this month that require your emotional attention, your intuitive attention. You know, bring in your guides, your higher self, you know, whatever it is that you feel you need, or even not, just go with the feeling, you know. We got the Four of Pentacles and then the Three of Wands. Now, this is your crossroads energy right here, and this is you taking a route, picking one and going off. For me, it's kind of like a lower level card of manifestation, because it's about the things that you actually do to get yourself closer to the things that you want. And it's interesting that this Four of Pentacles in reverse should show up in between the two, because the Death card for me is about making space within yourself, particularly when it's, you know, experienced as a sense of transition, right? So you're getting rid of the old stuff and you're allowing the new stuff to develop and come in, right? Endings and beginnings. But that's your internal space, and it does feel to me like you're going to be letting something go in the external, and that's okay, because it doesn't mean the same to you as it does anymore. Now, for some of you, if you've been single for a while and you've met someone, then what you might be letting go of is your solo cancerness, you know, the singlehood. It could be something like that, but it could be a number of other things too. But we go decision, release, movement here for you this month. And it's all good. The honest truth is, the less that you can think in August and concentrate on the feeling, like, don't give yourself an opportunity to second guess. Don't give yourself, don't overthink anything. You know, the first feeling that comes in, what is that? And then I would go with that personally, because it seems like you're kind of going to get buffeted with all of that kind of information if you're open to it and you are coming in. And with the Temperance card sitting behind the Sun card, I do feel like there's a certain amount of divine guidance, I would say, behind that. You're certainly going to feel... No, I've been corrected there. I was going to say synchronicities, but they said no, it's not synchronicities, because those would kind of just sort of happen at you and you'd be like, oh, holy fuck, whatever. Every step that you take feels like it is guided, in so much as the information comes through to you and your response to that, whatever it is, your intuition, your emotion, whatever, that will dictate which way you go. Every step of this process is conscious for you. It isn't like the universe is just kind of throwing things at you, and you're like, oh, holy shit, fuck, like, you know, and before you know it, you're kind of somewhere 6 miles away from where you started with no recollection of how you got here. More like this is a series of small steps. And each time you take a step and realise that you're at a crossroads or a fork in the road, whatever, you're like, right, I'm going to put down this bit of baggage, I don't need that, I'm going to go this way, like this. Every step of the process is conscious for you in August. And I think that that's really important, because I think that this is part of what is helping you really relax into your ability to be able to manifest. And by definition, helping you relax into the idea that you, Cancer, are actually really powerful and you've had no idea all of this time. So I'm going to go over to Vimeo now and pull this apart a little bit. We're going to look at August specifically, because that's really interesting. If you would like to join me over here, over there, well, the link is down in the description box. If not, or you could come and join Patreon if you like. I've got an amazing Patreon community, and then you get access to all the extended stuff for no extra cost. But if not, if you're not interested in that, August is going to be what you make it. I think that's the best way to put it. So if you want big things, you're going to have to be prepared to make the decisions that take you towards those big things. If you want to keep it low level, and honestly with the cards on the table, I'm not really feeling that, then correspondingly the benefits and the rewards will be smaller. But you've got an opportunity here to make some big moves over the course of August. I don't know, I think you'd be daft not to take them. Anyway, right, I'm going to go. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.